And so I go into my review. Those are the, do I want my life the way it was? Do I want the control? Things aren't working out here, and everything kind of came crashing down in my life. And so there's a review that I made. This is my review. There are times in a person's life when he or she could take what's left for them and settle, knowing that they've done the best they could. This is where you give up all those silly dreams you had, mature, and get down to the business of living like everyone else. Find a task and get real busy. Perhaps you won't think about the loss so much. I had everything I needed: a house, land, money in the bank, and the potential of a retirement the likes of which we all just dream of. I knew more and more how things worked here on earth and how to work things. I also knew that my ability to control life was good enough to live a good life. Who cares if I couldn't find what I was looking for? I didn't even know what I was looking for. I just knew I hadn't found it yet. This is where I settle, right? Almost. What I did just before I settled was review what it was I was looking for when I started this search and compare it to where I was now. When I started, I wanted to know the true game of life. I also wanted to know if I could control my life precisely and make it just the way I wanted it. If I found that I couldn't, I will settle for what I could change and get on with my life, unless the true game of life precluded even that possibility. So what was the true game of life? At this point, I would have said the true game was to go through the experience of the you and get out. That meant for each life I had to learn and even seek those lessons that I needed. I had to learn how to best learn those lessons of life. I was doing that. How was my control over life doing? I did know how to control things around me and those things that were going to happen to me, but I didn't know how to get rid of this want I had. I didn't even know what it was. Even when those things that I had set up came to be, I had this nagging feeling that I had missed the point or missed the goal. I had some other disturbing revelations also. I would like to give you some idea of what I was beginning to understand in the form of pieces of a puzzle that you have to put together. That is why this is level 4. But first, I want you to keep in mind that I could settle here just to continue with the knowledge I had. I was about at the end of book 2 in my understanding of how things worked. I was beginning to believe that there was no need to go further. I knew what needed to be known, and all the rest was just sidetracking. I was also beginning to question the need to help other people find their way. See if you get the same point. Now, here I'm going to give you pieces. And the reason I'm giving you pieces is, what you have to do is put these pieces together. There's no conclusion. There's no running path. There is a continuity to them. There is a meaning to them, but you have to find it. You're in level 4. If you can't find the meaning to what's laid out next, then you don't belong in level 4. Go on to the path and get out of here. For those of you that need to know, you'll get it when you hear it. When you hear it. And so I go on. I started this whole thing to find control. I found the thing called personal power and learned how to use it. I found that care must be used, or it turns on you, and you were open to others who could use it on you. Besides, kind of in brackets, besides the controlling of the other souls is what got us here in the first place. Am I so stupid as to go on with that program? Am I so dumb to go on controlling souls? That's what locked us in here. Personal power, making other people do what you want them to do. Isn't that what got us here in the first place? Isn't that why we're in karma? Isn't that why the question is, do you love dominion? So then I say, well then how about using it to change conditions in your life and to attract those who would benefit you while you benefit them? That seems to be a safe use. The problem? I just don't know enough about all the conditions to get it right. There was always something that I hadn't thought of that changed everything. I had found crystals, chakra, earth powers, breathing, self-hypnosis, third eye, meditation, and a myriad of other things, but nothing which helped me gain more power over my life. I wanted peace, happiness, and love in my life. What I had found so far was disruption, discomfort, depression, and a ton of knowledge, all useless in finding what I wanted. Don't misunderstand. I knew I was making progress as a trapped soul. I saw the karmic lessons and learned them. I became more patient and long-term in my thinking. I began to help others who were seeking. I had the mirror and knew who I was, knew who others were too. I began to see the world in a totally different light. I could see how things truly worked. I should have been happy. By this time, I had put some 30-odd years in the study of this quest. And so we go to the next chapter, the problems of knowledge. What was wrong? What was wrong? I thought about it in my better days. What was wrong? First, I could see the traps and the pitfalls in my life. I stepped over them or walked around them. As I did so, other people began to see that I was doing something different. I was becoming different. If I continued this change, would I be able to communicate what I'd already found, much less what I was now discovering? Would I get so far away that I couldn't communicate back to others? As I said, I was 30 years into this study. Would that make me unable to relate? As it was, I could hardly watch TV, go to parties, entertain, read the trivia and papers, or just discuss what everybody else was talking about. They didn't understand what was happening to them, and I did. They didn't understand why their children had to die. I did. They didn't understand why they didn't make any difference who was president. I did. They didn't understand the difference between what a person put out in front for you to see and what a person really was. I did. They didn't understand how much of their life was controlled and manipulated. I did. How could I just sit there and watch all this happen and not say something? And what on earth could I say that would make any sense to those who were bombarded daily with the lies that said otherwise? That was the first problem. Hermit. You get to be a hermit. You can't relate. You can't. Somebody says, "Oh, my kids got really good grades in school," and you want to say, "So what?" You can't do that. They lock you up. I don't know if they still lock people up, but anyway, you're not invited back to the party. You're not invited back to the party. The second problem was a little more subtle. I could see that I was learning and growing. I could see more and more from a cosmic point of view. I was even able to focus my life, thus living out much of the trivia. The problem was that my monkey was miserable. So what if my soul was gaining ground by leaps and bounds? My monkey was stuck here, where every second was an eternity. I had learned to be a good little monkey, with only others' worries and cares to work with. I was doing fine from a cosmic point of view. But what about the monkey? Where was his joy, his bliss? Everyone else seemed to be doing fine. They even kindly pointed out at every turn how stupid I was to care about others and be so concerned about that philosophical stuff. Were they right? Was it just one big series of parties, one contest to see who could get the most toys, to be judged the best because you could remember the most trivia, because you made the most money, because you had the biggest house? Didn't all those things go away with time? Did you have to come to the judgment sooner or later? And if it was so right, then why wasn't I happy? They seemed to be. Why wasn't I happy? I mean, at that point in time, I had a lot of knowledge, but they were happy. My soul might have been happy. I didn't have a lot of contact with my soul, couldn't ask. But my monkey was miserable. The human part of me was miserable. I mean, miserable. Depression. Things in my life had kind of fallen apart. And they kindly mentioned the fact that if I was so right and I had so much understanding, then, comparing them to me, they'd take them. And I wasn't so sure that they weren't right. So I went on. So back to the original premise. I wanted to control my life. I also wanted to know what the true purpose of life here on earth was. I guess I also wanted my monkey to be as content as possible as I worked on the tasks set before me. I wanted something for the monkey. Looking through those eyes, the eyes of somebody who knew a lot but was not real happy because the monkey wasn't happy. Looking through those eyes, I looked at those who laughed at me and all those that thought they were doing something that in some way was controlling their life. They set goals and worked to accomplish those goals. Some seemed to get there and others just quit and settled. Those who quit gave in to the concept that they had no control over their life and just complained about the fate that life dealt them. Those that succeeded were using the technique of personal power and didn't even know it. I could see all that. I could also see a growing surge in the New Age group to find the power that would help them gain that which they were looking for. They didn't want to use the old methods of going to school and getting a good job. They had done that and it didn't work. In truth, that group had done everything they were told, and now we're beginning to see through the lies themselves. And in brackets I say, I have great hope for this group if they can get away from the experts in the New Age and look within. And I do. They've done everything they were told. They began to realize that something was wrong. The nice house, the 2 cars, the garage, the 2.5 kids, all perfect. And they did it. And then they look at their life and say, there's something missing. They were lied to, and they see it, and they're looking, they're examining. If they can get away from the supposed experts in each field and get to the truth, look within, maybe they'll make some progress yet. And so I go on. Anyway, in the end, we have 2 groups. Those who have given up the right to control, and those who are looking for the control. I suspect that the first group would soon join the second group and see a way that it would work for them. So really, everybody's looking for a way to control their life. So then we have, or as I said, that leaves us with the second group, with which we divide into those who just want to control and those who want to find a right path of choice through this mess they call life. For those who want control of others and total dominion over their life, lots of luck. For the rest, let's take a look, read on, see what I have to say. If you're into dominion and control, go ahead. I know where it leads in so many ways. Go ahead, do what you want to do. For those of you who really would like to find a right path of choice and get through all this garbage that we have to go through, read on. And so I go on. It is obvious that you will need help if you're going to move in that direction at all. You, the monkey, just don't know enough to make the moves on your own. So what help? White magic? Black? Those are options, but in the end you're using the principles of personal power or are calling on other powers to help. I've already discussed the pitfalls of personal power. So that leaves us with the calling of other powers as an option. Would you use your crystal to amplify the calling of the earth powers? I'll tell you that the earth powers don't give a damn about your problem. Still, they will help you on occasion just to see you crash and burn in the end. Well, how about those on the other side, those in the fourth? As it was so painfully made clear to me, I will also give to you. Go out on the street and stop the first person you meet. Ask him or her to help you gain control of your life. And if you think about that, you're going to say, no way. And so I said, why not? Well, your chance of finding the kind of help you seek are about the same up there. The only difference between most of those from the fourth and the person on the street is that those in the fourth have access to information on your past and future. The problems created is that you can't believe anyone but a great soul could have that information about your personal life. Therefore, if you make contact with someone or something from the fourth, they have that information and you just know they are a great soul. Mistake. After realizing that, the question becomes, how many contacts must you make before you find that great soul that would help you? How would you know if he presented himself that he was who he presented himself to be? And obviously, would he help you if you did contact him? In other words, if you One, how do you know if it is a great soul? How many souls do you have to talk to before you find this great teacher or guide? How would you know if he was what he said he was, or she? And if he was what he said he was, or she said what she said she was, would she or he help you? I said you could try, but I reject that idea as too risky. And in brackets, besides, aren't we trying to get out by making our own right decisions? How can someone or something make our decisions for us and give us the right answers? Defeat the intent or the purpose of karma? Wouldn't that defeat the idea that you have the power to choose? In other words, if you're taking a test to find out where you are and somebody's giving you the answers, wouldn't that be a temptation if they wanted to keep you here to give you the wrong answer or the answers to the minion? Is that what's happening? So then I go, by the way, that's out. Seeking your teacher, guide, spirit guide out there in the outer realms of the fourth, forget it. So then I go and say, well, how about the White Brotherhood or the higher powers? That being earth, fire, water, air, for those who need to know. The higher powers. The hierarchy, or God himself. Now those are choices. The White Brotherhood? Having expected a contact from them for 20 plus years and not knowing for sure that I haven't been contacted, I have to let that one rest. I don't know. The White Brotherhood? I don't think that I've been contacted, but I don't know that I haven't. But if I have, it's been so nebulous that it hasn't really done me any good that I see. Now, I have to let that one rest. I can't say. So I go on. Still, I suspect that they would lead me exactly where I'm going, were I able to sit down and talk to them face to face. The higher powers, or the hierarchy, they're a little busy right now filling in the open positions. The higher powers in the hierarchy are a little busy right now filling of the open positions. What does that mean? For those that know, they know. There are some open positions in their ranks, and they're a little busy right now filling those positions, so they don't really have a whole lot of time for you. So that leaves us with God himself. That understanding is found in Book 5. But let's just say that you may have to find another path. So who or what will help, if indeed there is any help? I thought about it some more. So we've taken all these possibilities and have said that we'd had to let the White Brotherhood stand because we don't know for sure, but higher powers, the hierarchy, they're busy. God, in Book 5, you'll understand why I kind of didn't think that you were going to get a whole lot of help there. Not that Father wouldn't help you, but it is your test. We're in level 4. It is your test. So I go on. I thought again about the people who would laugh at me and how they thought they were in control of their lives. How long before death or illness brought them up short with no answers? How long before their dreams crumbled in this temporal world? How long before they settled, not telling anyone for fear of being ridiculed? This is where things began to come together. They were using methods that worked somewhat and had philosophical concepts that required constant faith to patch the holes. They had no rock to hold to. They had the feather faith to cling to as they were pushed over the edge. You understand what they're saying? You understand what I'm saying? They were using methods that worked kind of. They had philosophical concepts that required constant faith to patch the holes. They didn't have anything firm to hold on to. They just had this feather called faith to cling to as they were pushed over the edge. And here again I mentioned Book 5 as being more information given in Book 5. So then I go on. They were lied to. They believed the lies until their life crashed. They then sat silent in their lives and pushed their children to succeed where they had failed. What was all this deceit? Why did I need the mirror to see my true self and the truth of who others were? Why did it seem that society was steering us into a different view of how things work than what I saw now as to be the truth? In life we are taught to gather toys, be trivia smart, make more money, stay young, snub those that are less than you, worship those that are higher than you. Don't take so much. It didn't take so much to see through that baloney. Even the church teaches us that it isn't our fault, and if it was, we may be forgiven and sin no more. My understanding indicates that it is our fault, and that everything that happens to us is a consequence of some action we have taken in this life or a past one. My understanding is that it is our fault, and that everything that happens to us is a consequence of some action we took in a past life or we've taken in this life. And again, I comment more about that in Book 5. And so I say, again, there seems to be a difference between what I know and what we're being taught. Is that a coincidence or deceit? Are we being put to sleep as we slowly drift down the path to our destruction? Are all the differences I see between what I know to be the truth and what we're being taught a design? Are they design? Are they by design? Is there a pattern? It was at this point that I began Book 3 and things changed in my life. There was an attack after attack on my life in all areas. I found the higher powers, the four in their august state of dominion. I found chaos in the hierarchy. I saw the battles and I saw the loss. I saw the Catholic Church and all its... I can't talk about that. Book 5. Can't talk about that yet. I saw the love twisted and destroyed. I saw aloneness and celibacy. I was offered power, control, dominance, hate, anger, depression, sex, and other things less mentionable. I chose none. I was given depression. Often. I had the concept of the fallen one down by now. I understood even better why the lies seemed to be planned out in careful detail. They were. And so it went. With this held hole becoming clearer, making more sense, it boiled down to a very simple thing. I wish I could have been taught this concept when I was much younger. Do you know how every time you have made a decision with moral overtones, there is no clear-cut rule to follow? In fact, the decision seems to be impossible just because of all the murkiness in the choice. Those who would do only good, even those, are lost in this murky world. You know what I mean? Those who only wanted to do good, they can't do good because the choices are situational. Situation ethics, situational. Depends on the situation, doesn't it? It could be right here and wrong there, can't it? I said, if you do good here, are you doing bad there? The experts would tell us that only they can make the proper kinds of decisions, and only after exhausting all their great knowledge and wisdom. That is, if we can afford them. But where are they when we need them? We can't carry them around our hip pocket just in case there's a critical decision to be made. Isn't there a way to get our choices back? Can't we choose our own way? Can't things be made easier? And who or what could safely help us as we struggle to make our life work? Well, there's a question. Who or what could help us? That was a true test of this work. If they, the ones that gave me this work, were bound to determine that we're being duped, then give us a clear-cut, non-murky way to choose our way out and tell us who or what it is that will help us when we need that help. They did. Blew me away. They say. Now, we're back to them, you understand. I had my say. The next chapter is our promise. And you remember what I said just before I started? They said they would answer my question about fate. I asked the question, look, if we don't know the consequences of each of our decisions, if we don't know the ins and outs and every detail of the decision, then we don't have free will. And they said, good point. Now, we're going to answer that point down the road, but first let us do this. So they did that, and now they're saying, we promised an understanding of the answer of why we're here and what it's all about. Here is the concise answer, but one that no one seems to like, including John. I didn't. They say, we discussed earlier the concept of the archangels who were in charge of maintaining order in each solar system. There is also a caretaker of each planet in the system, and this caretaker or archangel is in charge of maintaining the balance where anything to get out of hand. These archangels are extensions of Father and have no free will of their own. As we explained, they're like a toll, doing what's needed to keep the toll proper and healthy, but having no free will to choose a course of action beyond their domain. We're talking about archangels now. Their definition, maybe not the church's definition, but their definition is not a soul, a mechanism to maintain order, part of Father, no free will.